cuts and this major issue in CCSF at the moment. And yeah, I just thank every single one of you guys for coming in, tuning in, and coming together in solidarity to fight against class cuts. Yeah, and let's keep the momentum going. Like, this is awesome. And we also have a march later on today. Gracie will be there, Era will be there, Natalie will be speaking, and sharing poetry. It's a great time to be alive and keep this momentum going. Yeah, and in the chat below, answer what is something you love most about City College professors and faculty. We have a bunch of them here today. So yeah, just spread some thanks and let them know that you're here to care about their existence in, your life. All right. And I will be doing some introductions as well. Yeah, so this is today's programming. Thank you to all the speakers here today. I'm really excited to hear what everyone has to say. And yeah, it's really exciting stuff. Yeah, so what is, CCSF Student Coalition? This is a coalition that consists of a bunch of student orgs and departments. And this student collective rejects austerity measures and works in pursuit of anti-racist free higher education and accessible resources for the teachers, students, and community members of CCSF. We promote lifelong learning, diverse education, alongside with having an honest, accountable administration. And for more info, just, click that link tree or type it in your browser and just, keep up with what's going on. Yes, and we acknowledge that we're on Ohlone land, and, we are on colonized land. And so we have to protect the people and keep fighting for what's right. And rest in power to the lives that we lost due to police violence and white supremacy. Alex Nato, Sean Monas Rosa, and Donovan Lynch. Yes, and stop API hate. We're in a time where there's a lot of violence stirred in the Asian community, and it's something scary for all of us. And we understand what's really going on right now in our own communities. Like, San Francisco is not immune to racism, even if we're like in the melting pot. And we recognize the people that have been victims of Asian hate and have even died because of violence and racism. And it needs to stop. So to take action, if you see something, say something, protect our elders, stay safe, and to take more action, please, get that link on the bottom. And yeah, we need to combat all the violence that has been going on in our communities. And yes, rest in power to Visha Ratan Pakdi. He died because of violence at the age of 83. And, we also recognize the lives lost in Atlanta of, all the people that died because of racism. And we acknowledge that it's the fetishization of Asian women is like pure racism, and there's no excuse. There's really no excuse. Yeah, and together we come and we recognize that through unity and resistance that we can dismantle systems that have harmed our communities, from our educational institutions to the prison industrial complex to imperialism, war, white supremacy, and more. So thank you all for coming here and, fighting for what's right in our city college. Oh, sorry. Yes, and so today I will be introducing the fight for ethnic studies with Keli Lord, the African American Studies Department Ambassador. And yeah, she will be speaking on behalf of the fight for ethnic studies.
Hello, my name is Keli Lord. Like what she stated, I am the African American Student Ambassador. And I've been doing this job for like a year and a half. And to be completely honest, it wasn't something that I thought I wanted to do here at CCSF. I was literally in the right department at the right time. I met an amazing professor, Dr. Ramona Coates, and shout out to her, just being half Black and half Asian and a woman in today's society. It's like, I got the short end of the stick, but Dr. Coates just inspires me. Just like saying the word Dr. Coates to a Black woman is just amazing. So it's really great to, like, every time I acknowledge her, I like have a smile on my face, like, yep, it can happen. It can happen. So I just wanted to give a shout out to her. And then, so like I was saying, I did not want this job, wasn't looking for a job, nothing. And Dr. Coates inspired me to like fight for something or advocate for it. I see how premature the department was, how malnourished and underappreciated it was. And like I said, I got the short end of the straw, so I've been fighting all my life. So I just took that little umph I had inside of me and I put it all towards the AFAM department. And it was a year and a half of just getting out of that little storage closet and trying to like just do better for my community. And then now all of these budget cuts and more hiccups just keep happening. I noticed since the recession in 2008, every single faculty member, administration, and students, because classes are affected, they're scared of their job security. They're scared of their future. There's always a cut. There's always another, we're going to take 20% this year. This year alone, like that was last year. This year alone, they took 25% cut. And it just keeps on, getting worse and worse. March 15th is when the pink slips notices went out. And I think it was like 200 faculty and administrators got the slips. And it's like, people don't really think about like, that's 200 lives. That's 200 mortgages. That's 200 car notes. There's 200 kids, families, everything that has to be fed and that they're actually depending on these funds to survive. But we just messed up 200 different livelihoods. And a lot of people are like, you can mess weed, don't mess with my pockets. People's pockets are now being messed with, their livelihoods, like how they literally survive. And it's crazy how 39 departments are going to be affected by this. That is crazy because that's over, I think I read it was 350 classes have been cut this year alone. And it's like, yes, lives matter, Asian lives, Black lives, all lives, but education matters as well. We need to be properly educated in today's society to be functioning properly, to know what is right and wrong, how to act in a police situation, how the police should act towards us. If we're all properly educated and our minds are properly nourished the same way how these bodybuilders and vegans properly nourish their body, we will have a better outcome on how to interact and react in situations that we should not be a part of, or we happen to be a part of. And if we keep on taking these cuts and we keep on taking these losses, because over 40% of our part-timers now have lost their jobs. 40%. So imagine next year, if you keep on taking 40% out of 40% out of 40%, you're going to be left with nothing eventually. I'm not too sure if they're trying to completely destroy our schools, but if you look at all of the stats since 2018, they keep cutting and cutting and cutting and cutting. And I just want to know what is going to be left. A lot of people like tend to forget, like, this is a 2-year college. So people fight for 2 years and then it's like, oh, it's not my problem anymore. And then a new batch of kids come in and then it becomes their problem. But they don't know that this problem is apparently generational, because it's been over 12 years of people literally fighting. And then it's hard for, teachers and professors to actually even want to work here because they don't know if they have job security. And then it's like, are they going to give their best? Are they going to put in their best? Because they don't even know if they're going to have a job in 4 months. We need, as a community, there's a petition online. There's about 2,080 signatures so far. I think that everyone needs to go and sign this petition. Everyone needs to continue advocating for what you believe in and continue going hard for what touches your heart. And right now, this school has touched my heart. Every time that I see people advocating, educating, learning, it just inspires me to keep going forward and doing more. Because every semester we're taking a hit, you guys. It's a loss. It's a downfall. We're losing teachers, classes, services, help. If we keep on taking these hits, we're going to eventually lose education. And in this systematic racism world that we live in, if we lose our own education, like in ethics studies, we're going to keep on being brainwashed into becoming these blue collar minions. So I know I'm probably talking a little bit too much, but I'm just fighting for what I really believe in. And we got to stop this now so that education is not lost. We're losing way too much and we cannot lose our mind. Thank you so much. I appreciate everyone. But yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Kelly. Everyone give her a round of applause. Like, that was amazing. Yeah, and let's keep fighting for education. Let's keep fighting for the people. Education is supposed to empower the people, and these cuts are oppressing us, and marginalized communities that need these classes to learn about themselves, learn about their future, and more. Yes, thank you, Kelly, so much. You rock. And we're gonna give the mic to Dr. Coates.
Okay, that is hard to follow. So I'm just so inspired by our students. They make me want to be a better instructor. They want me to continue to work hard for them. Keely's gonna make me cry because I love her spirit. I love the person that she is, and I'm looking forward to seeing what she does in her life. What she becomes. She's really a future politician. But we need, in order for that to happen, we need to keep our institution for our students. We need to keep the community in community college. We need to stop these cuts. If it wasn't for CCSF Coalition, Affirmative Action Task Force, BSU, CCSF for All, ARA, we would not have some of the gains that we've had this year. And I'm just going to talk specifically about AFAM studies. Let me just say the college is supposed to be committed to diversity, equity, and inclusion, student success. They've rallied around Black Lives Matter support with action items. But the problem is their words are not translating into the action. They're disenfranchising BIPOC students, BIPOC faculty, and it's become, just for Black students alone, an anti-Black environment. African American studies has been affected by the cuts. Don't believe what you're hearing that it hasn't. 33% cut in funding. When Dr. Aliyah Dunn Salahuddin was here, we had 6 classes. It is now cut down to 4. There is a course that I can't even offer in the fall, AFAM 60, that is part of what's been an institution. Our department is 50, almost 51 years old. How do we let that slip away? The faculty has been cut by 67%. We only have 1 full-time faculty member. And I appreciate the hard fought advocacy of CCSF for All, of Affirmative Action Task Force and BSU to get that full-time faculty member that we got this semester. But that means with the funding, they cut the funding for AFAM studies. So Dr. Ricky Vincent can't even teach a class that he created, AFAM 55, that he's been teaching for the last 19 years. Next year, next school year, he does not have a class. We have had some gains where we now have an Associates of Arts degree, Associate's Arts degree for transfer, and a Certificate of Achievement, because BSU and because students have asked and demanded for that. We got it, but guess what? I have no funding to make sure that you have all the classes in AFAM studies to be able to fulfill the degrees and the certificate. I want you to hear that. We're here to support your success, to help you move on to do African American studies or Black studies or Africana studies, because that is what people want now. There are jobs available once you transfer in African American studies, Black studies. There are director jobs, there are research jobs, there are so many jobs available, but you can't even finish the degree because the funding has been cut and one course can't be taught. That doesn't even make sense to me. How are we really fighting for diversity, equity, and inclusion, student success, and Black Lives Matter support, supporting our Black students on campus in terms of Black minds mattering, and we don't have the infrastructure and the support for students? It just boggles the mind. I don't understand. I don't understand. Um, I am thankful for everyone who went to the Board of Supervisors, the 19 people who spoke, AFT 2121, to ask the supervisors to step in and do something. We need to make noise in every space that we're in. We need to change the narrative. We really need to be about diversity, equity, and inclusion. We are a Hispanic serving institution. We ask people to write a diversity statement in order to work here, but we are not doing the work to support our students, all our students. We are leaving our minoritized students behind. We have to continue to fight. We have to continue to make noise so we can continue to bring you the education you so richly deserve. Our community, our San Francisco community, needs us. In a pandemic, we should not be cutting our school, our college. And last thing I want to say, we have 35 African American full-time faculty. 50% of those African American full-time faculty have received pink slips. 50%. Not even mentioning the ethnic studies, other ethnic studies and diversity departments that have received pink slips that will decimate their departments. How can we lose Dr. Lily Ann Villaraza, our only full-time faculty member in Philippine Studies? Philippine Studies disappears if she leaves, if she is laid off. I just want you to hear that. That doesn't even make sense to me. Okay, I'm done. It doesn't make sense.
Thank you so much, Dr. Coates. I think we need to shine a light on those 50 cuts. You know, like why don't we know about this? Why are they hiding this information from us? You know, and it's so apparent that we're targeted. Ethnic studies are targeted. We're at risk, and we need to uplift our people, and so we can understand who we are and opportunities to empower the community after, you know. And that, with that being said, I would love to, just give Dr. Coates a round of applause. Give her some love. She's amazing.
Yes.
Woo! Woo! Yeah, Dr. Coates. Yeah. So
Thank you,
We love
Dr.
you, Dr.
Coates.
Coates.
yeah,
Thank you.
all the love to her.
Can I mute to say that? Cheers for Dr. Coates.
Yes. Yeah, and so I would love to introduce We Are Philippine Studies, a student-led campaign to spread awareness on the risk of losing Philippine Studies department, as well as the chair, Dr. Lily Ann Villaraza, who has done so much work developing this department to keep educating our youth on the Filipinx diaspora. The Philippine Studies Department is the only department of its kind in the nation, offering classes such as Filipino family and contemporary issues in the Filipino diaspora, which dive into the complexities of the Filipinx identity and address issues faced through Filipinx experiences. And so with that being said, this year we will celebrate the 50th anniversary. So we must keep fighting to preserve this department for the many years to come. Our history should no longer be invisible, and we will not back down, and we will keep fighting to preserve our history. And I will be giving the mic to Jeff, who will be talking about how detrimental it is to cut Philippine studies.
Thank you so much for that introduction, Kiana, and thank you, Dr. Coates and Kelly, for your riveting speeches. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. My name is Jeff Stanley, and I'm a student here at City College of San Francisco and an organizer with the We Are Philippine Studies campaign. When pink slips were given out in March, many teachers and faculty wondered what this means, not only for their department's future, but their future as well, right? But these professors and full-time faculty aren't just numbers on a budget. They're mentors, they're facilitators of knowledge, and they're stakeholders in this community, the San Francisco community, who are cultivating the next generation of leaders. But students also wonder what these cuts mean for them and their future here at City College as well. Some of the departments that are being threatened with cuts, such as Women's and Gender Studies, Interdisciplinary Studies, African American Studies, and the Philippine Studies Department, they help students analyze the intersections of race, class, sexuality, and the social political oppression that these groups have faced, right? And these departments help students understand the historical and contemporary conditions that our community has faced in the Philippines and the United States as well. It's because of Philippine studies that we're able to learn about our forced migration and why the largest export of the Philippines is its people. It's because of Philippine studies that we learn how Manila Town, 10 blocks between Chinatown and the Financial District, and also the High Hotel, would be erased due to the high-rise building boom from the 50s and 70s. So the Philippine Studies Department doesn't just teach us our history, it also gives us the tools to address these issues that we've studied. Students have gone to become organizers, psychologists, counselors, artists, educators, and leaders in the community, empowering us to fight for a more equitable future for not just Filipinos, but other communities with shared experiences. Removing the Philippine Studies Department chair and the only full-time employee, Dr. Lily Ann Villaraza, will effectively gut the department, endanger stability, and provide further justification for cuts down the line. If we don't organize, then our history will be erased again, much like what happened to Manila Town. The Philippine Studies Department was established due to community organizing, and it is through community organizing that we will stave off the cuts, not just for the Philippine Studies Department, but all departments. So how can City College adhere to its vision of providing a sustainable and accessible environment where we support and encourage student possibilities when we are cutting the people who support and encourage those students? By working with San Francisco community, students, teachers, we can bring forth the vision of City College being a sustainable and accessible environment for all and instill in principles of inclusiveness, integrity, innovation, creativity, and quality into the next generation of leaders and students on our campuses. So thank you all for this time and your attention and for doing all of this and all the organizing efforts that you've done, both teachers and students. I'll also be introducing our next speaker from the We Are Philippine Studies campaign. Guada, a CCSF alumnus, will share her experience and what the Philippine Studies Department has taught her. Thank you all for fighting for a better future for City College of San Francisco. Until victory.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff, for that introduction.
Hello everyone. My name is Guada Nobela, and I'm just here to brush on my experience with the Philippine Studies Department and working alongside Dr. Lily Ann Villaraza. I am a 1.5 generation immigrant, and I was born in the Philippines and immigrated to the US at a young age. I went through the public school system, but I wasn't taught much about my history and culture in school. It wasn't until I came to City College and took Philippine related courses that I really got to know my history, my culture, and myself. Taking these courses, such as Philippine history and Filipino family, taught by the diligent Dr. Villaraza, helped me realize how I struggled a lot with my identity. Growing up, I had a difficult time accepting myself and figuring out my place in the world. I didn't like my dark skin tone and I couldn't fit in. I am either too Filipino or too American, or at least that's what I thought at the time. These courses helped me learn about the effects of hundreds of years of colonization, such as the term colonial mentality, that allowed me to accept my brown skin because it helped me understand the history before me and my present. The Filipino family course helped me realize that I was not alone in this experience of what it means to be Filipino American. And what I learned is that it is whatever you make it to be and whatever it is that you want it to be, because there is no such thing as balance. The quote, "No history, no self" by Jose Rizal is so relevant because learning my history helped fill these gaps in my life with answers, which allowed me to move forward in my authentic self. Not only these courses, but the guidance, support, and mentorship that I received working alongside Dr. Villaraza was a contributing factor that helped me become the woman I am today. Losing Dr. Villaraza as chair and continuing to defund the PHST department takes away the chance for others to learn about their roots and the chance for the department to grow. That is why I'm here, to fight for generations to come and give them the opportunity to learn about their culture, history, and establish their own identity. Because the thing is, we've been here from the first documented Filipinos in October of 1587 to the Delano grape strike in 1965 and the Manila town in San Francisco that got wiped in the 70s. We've been here, we are here, and we will continue to be here. We will not be erased. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Guada and Jeff, for breaking down why we need Philippine studies and why it's so valid, why it affects our experience here in the U.S. With that being said, I will introduce everyone to Dr. Lily Ann Villaraza, the chair, the amazing Dr. Lily Ann Villaraza. Everyone give her an applause.
Hi, everybody. Okay, I'm crying. I adore my students. I adore all of you, past, present, and future, because everything that you guys do is so amazing. But so I'm going to read something because I wrote something. I got to afford to do it. So good morning and thank you for being with us in solidarity and community today. And I particularly want to thank the students who've been working so hard on behalf of the Philippine Studies Department and myself to call on the institution for a more nuance and more transparency in their decisions. And I also want to thank my colleagues and co-conspirators across the world for continuing to write individual letters of support and signing letters of solidarity. And my gratitude runs deep, and my resolve to move this department forward and the programs that we've created this past year are more resolute than ever. So I'm Dr. Villaraza. I chair the Philippine Studies Department. I'm the only full-time tenured faculty in the only Philippine Studies Department in the nation. In addition to teaching, planning, and grading, I serve on academic senate committees, schedule classes, write reports, monitor enrollment, create courses and new degrees, develop marketing, mentor students, nurture department partnerships with Tulay, and then with other outside partnerships and institutions and organizations with Philippine and Filipinx American foci. Philippine Studies is one of the 2 oldest ethnic studies departments at CCSF. We were institutionalized alongside African American Studies in the fall of 1970. I am a historian. I have dug into the archives. I have the documentation of this, right? And because we are 50 years old, right? 50 years of history of struggle and resilience. And it has taken 50 years, but pending board approval this month, alongside African American Studies, we'll be offering the only associate's degree in Philippine Studies starting in spring 2022. And we will be offering also a certificate of achievement in Philippine Studies starting in spring 2022 as well. We've also moved over the Filipino language certificate, which was going to be shelved, right? That is now in Philippine Studies. So over the past 2 years, we've grown the department's potential course offerings by 300%. And we've increased our potential degree offerings from 0 to 3. And now, despite the fact that we have enough classes to support a degree and certificate next academic year, I worry that our current course allocation is insufficient to encourage students to pursue the degree and certificate in Philippine Studies, just like African American Studies, right? And you'll probably hear a lot of I have a lot of numbers, a lot of like different kinds of things to kind of think about, but this is kind of the unsexy, ugly, like, you know, weeds that we have to get into, right? So we are literally the smallest department in the institution. We've become that over the last few years. We've been deemed a boutique department by CCSF leadership, which is largely code for being less valuable to the institution as a whole. And we've continually been allocated less funding for courses and no funding for administrative staff, despite our repeated requests. So and Dr. Ramona Coates and I have been in this space together where we need clerical support. We need people to help us with our paperwork. We need people to help with all the things that need to be done day to day. And we get denied. And so we end up doing that work, which takes away from the larger kind of things that we need to be taking care of as well. This has largely been justified by budget shortfall, lack of enrollment and productivity in the department. But you know, they'll throw us a bone and they'll give us money through the Office of Equity, who I love, right? For front-facing efforts like the Filipinx graduate celebration that Guada was so brilliantly in charge of for the first several years, so that it could look like the institution is supportive of the Filipinx community, right? And this is all in the face of escalating violence towards BIPOC folks in the United States, increased violence toward the Asian American community across the country, at least 10 acts of violence leveled against Filipinx Americans over the last few months, 3 of them being here in the Bay Area, right? And the fact that Filipinxs are the largest Asian American population in California, the largest Asian American demographic in the California community college system, and the Bay Area is home to the second largest Filipinx community in the nation, right? Despite the fact that Filipino is an official language of San Francisco, I've repeatedly had to remind our administrators that there needs to be general marketing in Filipino for CCSF around the city to no avail. The banners that hang along Frida Kahlo are in Korean, Spanish, Chinese, Arabic, and Russian, but not Filipino. And that is embarrassing. That's absolutely embarrassing, right? So while the leadership of our college may say that there's no intention at this time to dissolve Philippine Studies as a department, just as Jeff has said, the loss of a full-time position would mean the loss of leadership and stewardship to grow the new degrees and certificates, to cultivate engagement and interest in the community, and among students to pursue this degree and certificate. Without a full-time position, the department loses the stewardship, expertise, and specialization crucial to address issues of equity and social justice and intersectionality and plans for sustainability, right? And without leadership, it is only a matter of time, just as Jeff had said, before it becomes fiscally justifiable to close the department, right? Now, we can be angry and we should be angry and, you know, and to rail against CCSF's leadership and demand that they fix and change things. But how can we expect the leadership to change if the leadership hasn't changed? Let me say that again. How can we expect the leadership to change if the leadership hasn't changed, right? So I come from a solution-based kind of like space sometimes. And so these are my suggestions to 3 different groups. One, for the administration and college leadership. One, stop treating the college like a business, right? While budgets and funding are fundamentally important to the function of our institution, we need to rectify the things that are obviously broken in our fiscal practices, rather than placing the burden of tightening our belts on the backs of our faculty and ultimately our students. Education is not a business. We are hope dealers and guides. We are charged with helping folks find themselves, find their place in society, and how they can best contribute to the betterment of humanity. One suggestion that I've been touting for a while, and I don't know if anybody's actually listening, develop a robust alumni campaign, right? 50% of San Francisco residents have taken classes at CCSF, you know? Like, for the cup of a Starbucks coffee, right? You can support City College of San Francisco, you know? And be our champion, administrators. Challenge policies that hurt our institution, policies on repeatability, on out-of-state enrollment, that are pushing CCSF from being a community college to a junior college. For students, because we're all in this together, your role is to enroll and complete. Funding for higher education has changed. And this is the thing that I need everybody to understand, right? Now, students need to complete courses, degrees, and certificates in order for state funding to flow to the institution. The other thing that you can do is encourage others who are coming into city, right? Make suggestions, point them out to resources. The only way that we can sustain the changes that we want to see at this point is to ensure that our enrollments are increased and stay robust, right? And enrollment leads to sustainability of our departments and programs that are important to all of you. And again, one more thing for students, engage, just like all of you are, right? Cultivate a student culture on campus. That is the one thing that makes my heart hurt. That I do not see a robust student culture on campus, and I don't understand why. I get it, it's a 2-year institution, but the history that people have shared with me has told me that there was a robust student culture on campus. What happened to that, right? So demand easier processes for forming a student organization, right? Be champions of your own educational experience. Ask for better registration processes, language supports, mental health supports, right? And then follow up so that it becomes a reality. Maybe not for you, but those who come behind you, right? And faculty and staff, right? We're gonna have to dig in. We're gonna have to dig in more than we already have. And perhaps we can determine the parameters of these pending lean times. When can we anticipate them to end, right? What sorts of networks of support do we need to cultivate to make this a better working environment, right? Not just a learning environment, a working environment. How would we like to see professional development change, right? And how can we support our part-time and full-time faculty more equitably, right? So in the end, we all need to be champions of CCSF. I'm not from San Francisco, I'm from San Diego, right? But I've come to love this institution, the students in this institution and what this institution can become, right? And, you know, we've been doing the same things over and over again for the past few years, expecting different results, and that's insanity, right? Education should be transformational, not transactional. If the leadership of our college is truly committed to being a student-centered institution, they can shift their understanding and handling of our institution's reality from one of deficit to one of abundance. And then we can work together rather than against each other with transparency and truth to fix our circumstances, right? And in that vein, the community, my students and I are counting on the institution to uphold its commitment to being student-centered, to uphold the importance of social justice, equity, and representation in education by ensuring that this department, you know, there's me and then two part-time faculty, right? That it has the leadership and support it needs to grow and thrive so we can celebrate another 50 years down the road. And so I'm sorry, I was just reading off, but really, like, I was a student organizer myself, and I'm so inspired by all of you and what you are doing. And I hope that, you know, however I can continue to support the work that you're doing, what I want to make clear is that this fight does not stop after this campaign is over, right? And we need to sustain some sort of pressure to ensure that CCSF makes fundamental changes so that are sustainable, right? So that your brothers or sisters who come after you aren't fighting the same fight, right? I feel like I'm in the 90s again doing the same damn thing when we were protesting 187 and 209, fighting for ethnic studies. And I'm like, seriously? But sorry, okay, I'm gonna stop now. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for all your work. And I look forward to continue working with all of you.
Yes, let's give Dr. Lily Ann Villaraza a round of applause.
Woo!
How complex the issues are in our community.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
Let's keep this momentum going. Let's keep the fight going. It doesn't stop after today, after the march. It keeps going, and let's grow the student coalition. Let's keep organizing. Let's keep building this community so that, you know, the people after us can have a better college. Introducing Xianna Rodriguez to talk on the behalf of, oh, am I muted? Oh, no.
No, you're not.
Cool. And yes, so yeah, I will be introducing Xianna Rodriguez to talk on the behalf of disability rights with DSPS.
Hi, everyone. My name is Xianna Rodriguez, and I'm a current City College, or first, I'd like to thank everyone who came before me. Your presentations were wonderful. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Xianna Rodriguez. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a current City College of San Francisco student. I'm a Latina woman with a visual impairment and ADD. Having accommodations in order to complete my classes has been extremely helpful during my time at CCSF. I started to do more disability advocacy while attending CCSF by encouraging the use of image descriptions on social media in order to help make people's content more accessible for people who are blind or visually impaired. DSPS stands for Disabled Students Programs and Services. As of 2019 and 2020, they served 2,634 students. 24.49% of those students are Hispanic, which is the demographic that I fall under. The types of disabilities that DSPS supports are acquired brain injury, ADHD, autism, developmentally delayed disorders, hearing impairments, learning disabilities, mobility impairments, other psychological disabilities, speech language impairments, and visual impairments. As you might have heard, 40% of the classes offered through the Disabled Students Programs and Services are going to be cut. Those cuts are meant to ensure long-term financial sustainability in a multi-year budget plan. DSPS receives funding separate from the college general fund. Cutting from DSPS would not save the college money from the budget. DSPS services and accommodations are required by law. They are federally mandated. If DSPS is cut and the state provides less money due to fewer classes and students, then the college would need to use their general fund to make up the difference. There are two sources of income for CCSF. Even though DSPS had fewer students in 2020 and 2021, their funding allocation went up over $200,000. Classes through DSPS also made $494,000 in apportionment for the college. This information is from Muriel Parento, DSPS coordinator. By supporting DSPS, we would also be supporting disability rights, because people with disabilities should be part of all aspects of society, especially education. People with disabilities are the largest minority group in the world, making up 26% of the population in the United States. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to my presentation. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Xianna. We all love you, and we appreciate all the words that you said and addressing the issues with, you know, accessible learning and for people with disabilities, students with disabilities. And accessibility should not be compromised, and nobody should. So I will be introducing Lara to speak on the behalf of immigrant rights.
Hi everybody, my name is Mo. I've been a student at City College for about 6 years now. And I humbly just come, after these beautiful, mentions before me, and I just want to say that I have so much respect for this immense fight. It's not the first fight that I have kind of been involved in at City College. I am an undocumented student in the process of getting my immigration status situated.
On my phone. It's so cool. Really? Let me show you.
I think somebody's got their audio unmuted. But it's really been, I remember coming to City College in around 2005, 2005, I came through, and I am also a student with disabilities. So Xianna's, testimony is just, deeply impacting to a reality that some of us, experience. I'm a working student. I have no familial support. So it's been, I feel like to me, one of the most difficult parts of being an undocumented student is kind of navigating the campus. And as a disabled student too, I have some experiences that are difficult in terms of kind of figuring things out. It's a little bit different for me. So it's definitely, I feel like as COVID came through, it was sad to see that it felt to me like a new registration system. I haven't been really able to get in touch with DSPS. So I feel like things have gone very kind of difficult for undocumented students as well. Going back to that, I feel like, I used to group up with a bunch of students at an undocumented research center, Vida, when it was in the student union. And now that to see City Dream being opened and everything, it's kind of unfortunate to see that all this is going through the pandemic and things are closed and things like that. I just wish that I saw my school kind of reaching out with more transparency to students and meeting them. Even if I get 5 emails a day in my inbox, I would love to at least just get a little bit more of a sense of where I am as a student. And for me, what I've been thinking is, if I'm having a lot of difficulty navigating the system online, I can only imagine how much more difficult it is for diverse students for new incoming students to navigate that. So I just I want to speak to the experience, to my experience as an undocumented student. The last time we came up with some numbers, it was something around 500 undocumented students. And in the name of like this being a country of immigrants and this being a country, of diverse country, I do feel like it's just, I can't wait to continue supporting more efforts to underrepresented students. And I can continue to give back more to educate the community on what the undocumented experience is, and just supporting with whatever I can the effort to keep our school open. It's not the first time that this happens. I was a student appointee when the accreditation issue happened. So I feel really really involved. And I just want to say that on behalf of undocumented students, we are here, even if we're a small group. And thank you so much. And Black Lives Matter for sure, and anti-Asian hate for sure, all day, every day, all year. So thank you so much, community, for continuing to fight. And CCSF Collective, just huge shout out for continuing that passion, that drive. And we're here and we're not gonna go anywhere. So thank you so much, City College and everybody around. Thank you.
Let's make some noise for Mo. That was really amazing. Yeah.
Woo!
Oh, great.
Thank you, Mo.
Yeah, accessibility for immigrants, for people with disabilities should not be compromised. No one should be compromised, and education needs to be accessible for everyone. And these difficulties seem like it's not a coincidence. Nothing is a coincidence. Everything that's happening, all the difficulties we're facing is systemic, it's wrong, and we need to keep fighting for what's right. Yeah, so thank you again, Xianna and Mo, for speaking on the behalf of, disability rights and immigration rights. Yeah, and so now I will be introducing Stephanie Woodford, and she will speak on the behalf of the music department, and she will perform as well.
Hello, my name is Stephanie Woodford. I'm glad to be here. I would just like to say I've been loving hearing all these amazing speakers and what they have to say. I would also like to piggyback off of the last two speakers. I too, well, first of all, I'm a City College alum. I just graduated last year, and I was, while I was there, a DSPS student. I have ADD. And shout out to Terrence Chan, my counselor there. He helped me through a lot. Being a DSPS student, needing accommodations, making sure I got them, talking to certain teachers when they wouldn't. And so, yes, it was disheartening to me when I heard about the cuts the DSPS was facing. But like she said, I'm here to talk about the music department, and that was a big blow to me as well, because when I was talking to Madeline Miller through email, the head of the music department, she told me that there are only currently right now 2 music teachers left. Her as the head of the music department, and Rebecca Malion, shout out to her, she's amazing. They are the only 2 left right now. Every single other music teacher in the music department at City College has gotten a pink slip. And, you know, I was the type of student who didn't do well academically. Music was my passion. So for me to hear that all of these teachers have gotten the pink slip is like devastating to me. Madeline Miller has repeatedly been in a fight for this, and she has said repeatedly that they have been trying to get rid of the music department for a while now. And it's because they don't care about music and performing arts. They don't think it is important. And I'm here to tell you that it is. For those of us who may not do well academically, or for those of us who do well academically and we need an outlet, it is very important to us as music students to have the music department and the arts department and the performing arts department. And it is not fair that people think that it is not important. With that being said, this song I chose, called I Am Light by India Ari, it's a special song to me. And you can't see my uke, here it is, but you can definitely hear it. So here we go. I am light, I am light. I am light, I am light. I am not the color of my eyes. I am not the skin on the outside. I am not my age. I am not my race. My soul on the inside is all light. and the sun, a piece of it all. I am light. Want us to remember that. We are light, we are light. We are light, we are light. We are light, we are light. We are divinity divine. We are the dawn on the inside. We are the sun, a piece of it all. We are light. Thank you so much. Want us to remember that. We are light. We are the voices. We have the power to change what is happening right now. So yeah, say CCSF and in the cuts.
Yes, let's give Stephanie a round of applause. Let's make some noise.
Beautiful, beautiful. Woo!
Right.
Yay, Stephanie. Yay, Stephanie.
All love, all love. Yeah, that's amazing. Someone asked if you're gonna sing at the rally later on because
I wish I could be at the rally.
So do I.
Same, but we are absorbing your energy right now. We feel empowered. Thank you for sharing your song. Yeah. If Poetry of the People aren't here today, we will be moving on with Invest in Education with Rebuild City College, Leslie Simmons.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Stephanie, that was so beautiful. Shout out to the incredible student organizers and speakers. It's an honor to be among you and my faculty colleagues. As a longtime instructor at City College, today I'm representing the Rebuild City College campaign. We stand in solidarity with all students and with the faculty and classified unions. Rebuild City College was born to reclaim the City College budget from an administration whose sole goal seems to be to reduce the vibrant, comprehensive community college committed to cultural enrichment, civic engagement, and lifelong learning into a junior college where only certificates, degrees, and transfers to four-year universities matter. Of course, I want my students to gain skills, credentials, and life-sustaining careers. I've devoted my own career to that purpose. Some of my students, in fact, are now faculty at City College. But along with credentials and jobs, I want my students to lead meaningful lives, growing and sharing their individual gifts, healing from trauma, resisting injustice, staying committed to learning throughout their lives. Rebuild City College wants to reclaim the City College budget to keep classes open in ethnic studies, African American studies, Latinx studies, Asian American studies, Philippine studies, to keep classes open in social justice studies, interdisciplinary studies, women's and gender studies, LGBT studies, labor and community studies, to keep classes open in the arts and humanities, to reopen classes for older adults. Rebuild wants to reclaim the City College budget to save the jobs of faculty who have devoted their lives to generations of students who then give back to our communities. For decades, public education has been underfunded, but right now we have an opportunity to change that bleak scenario. As we recover from the pandemic, we have the opportunity to take the lessons of this heartbreaking year to recommit to what matters, opening minds, healing spirits, building resistance to injustice. We must demand that City College administrators and trustees use the federal and state emergency relief funds to build back our school. We must demand that the San Francisco supervisors commit to supplemental regular funding of the community college San Franciscans want, need, and deserve. Please join our campaign to rebuild City College. For more details, you can go to our website and I will paste that into the chat. Again, thank you so much for allowing me to speak today.
Yay, Leslie.
Yeah, let's go. Nice. Thank you
Go,
so
Leslie. Yay.
Thank you.
Love you, Leslie. Known you forever. Love you, Leslie. Thank you.
Work forever.
Yeah, Leslie, we all appreciate the work that you do with Rebuild City College and how you connect with the community and addressing issues, facing these issues, and demanding the proper budget for our people. Thank you so much. And I would like to introduce Tehmina Khan with AFT.
Hi, everybody. You can hear me okay? Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. I'm just like really moved to be part of this gathering. And really, I'm just feeling strong and empowered because of you. And because of you and us and what we did on Friday at the Board of Supervisors, Supervisor Mar is going to introduce legislation for supplemental funding, right? So we're doing this together. And I also, I am an executive board member with AFT 2121, our faculty union. I am a part-time faculty member in the English department. And because of the cuts that have already happened, I don't have classes this semester. So, they're talking about 160 pink slips, but that means necessarily 500 part-time faculty members are not going to have work. They don't even give us the dignity of a pink slip. So that's something to keep in mind. Their proposal would cut the college by 60%. And also notice at the hearing the other day, no administrator showed up because their legal counsel told them not to. Their legal counsel that is defending the layoffs told them not to show up. So that tells us that they care more about defending the layoffs than they do about getting money for City College, right? So I'd like to tell you about something that happened in my Poetry for the People class 2 years ago. This is Poetry Month. April is Poetry Month, and poetry is going to bring us forward along with everything else, along with music, along with everything else. So I'm going to read a poem by Maya Angelou, a great San Franciscan. And I'll tell you something that happened in my class a couple years ago. So this is, we had a celebration of the work of Maya Angelou in my Poetry for the People class for Poetry Month 2 years ago in 2019. And so picture Maya Angelou, as you hear me read this, picture Maya Angelou wearing silver sequins. Okay, I'll do my best. Okay. Still I rise. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still, like dust, I'll rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? Because I walk like I've got oil wells pumping in my living room, just like moons and like suns with the certainty of tides, just like hope springing high. Still, I'll rise. Did you want to see me broken? Bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries. Does my haughtiness offend you? Don't you take it awful hard, because I laugh like I've got gold mines digging in my own backyard. You may shoot me with your words, you may cut me with your eyes, you may kill me with your hatefulness, but still, like air, I'll rise. Does my sexiness upset you? Does it come as a surprise that I dance like I've got diamonds at the meeting of my thighs? Out of the huts of history's shame, I rise. Up from a past that's rooted in pain, I rise. I'm a black ocean, leaping and wide, welling and swelling, I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. Into a daybreak that's wondrously clear, I rise. Bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave, I am the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise, I rise, I rise. So we were celebrating Maya Angelou 2 years ago for for Poetry Month, Maya Angelou and 400 years of resistance, and we are still fighting here. We're taking the 400 years of resistance and bringing it forward. So we had this celebration. We translated this poem into 6 or 7 languages. We recited it together. We had drums and guitars, and it was just and students from various parts of our campus community. I also want to say that I advise the Muslim Students Association. So salam alaikum, sisters and brothers. So I'm going to read a poem that I wrote, reflecting after we had our big celebration, that tells us what is the magic of City College? What do we stand to lose? Maya Angelou at City College of San Francisco, Poetry Month 2019. We are poets for the people, gathered tight in a City College classroom in the presence of Maya Angelou, resurrected by memory and love. We rise to speak her words in Tagalog, Portuguese, Urdu, Spanish, French, Chinese. We rise in Hawaiian, in Tigrinya, in Arabic, in Japanese. With drum beat and guitar strums, we speak her words, witness 400 years of resistance, and emerge in silver sequence like our ancestor, the fish, rising out of the ocean to start life anew. Poets for the people. We seek that maternal heartbeat of the earth, holding us close, then lifting us up. In these new nights of terror, what choice do we have? Poets must do what poets do. We rise. Yes, they want to see us broken. They always have. They want to shut us up. They want to shut us down. But we are poets for the people, a black truth, swelling with a black ocean, swelling with truth. And Maya Angelou in the great beyond, we have her poem, and we rise. We all rise together, and we will do this. Thank you.
Good.
Yeah.
Yay.
Give some noise.
Woo!
Thank you so much, Justin, Maya Angelou. And, wow.
And I'm going to put something in the chat so that folks here can tell your story on video. Okay, I'm putting a link in the chat. We want to hear everybody's story.
Perfect.
And get it out on social media.
Yes, yes, that'd be awesome. Yes. Thank you so much, Tehmina, for sharing and performing these pieces. I really appreciate it. And with more poetry to come, I am introducing Janine Acosta from Poetry for the People.
Hello, everyone. My name is Janine Acosta. This is my first year. I'm not speaking or now online speaking. One of the classes I'm taking this year means a lot to me. It's where I found a community that is open and supportive. And I'm here to show my support to the faculty members and the classes that are at risk of losing their lives, especially during the pandemic. Even if it wasn't a pandemic, this is still wrong. So I will be sharing a spoken word. Ever since I was a kid, I was told that education is important. During high school, I was told that college is where my future lies, that a degree is the prize. Now that I'm in college seeking knowledge, I do believe in more. You know, this opportunity, supportive community, honestly, college is not for everyone. Yet you're deciding on cutting more classes, the same classes that have helped someone find their identity. Cutting faculty, the ones who've been there during these hard times. Why don't you focus on the people that you have rather than the ones that's not here? Or was that just another excuse? Unless it's for the people. How can you be so hypocritical telling me you're my option, but when I got here, you're limited? When are you going to finally put the people first? Are there pink slips and eviction notice? Cutting classes is only sending us one message, that we're not important. It's not the classes you're cutting, but the people. Thank you, everyone.
Woo!
Good.
Woo.
Spitting bars,
Powerful.
great bars. Thank you so much, Janine. I really appreciate your words today. Now I will be introducing Sebastian Escobar on behalf of Aircraft Maintenance Technology Program. Oh, it says that he's joining shortly. Sweet. Okay, so Sebastian's here.
Hello. Hi.
Hey, Sebastian.
Hi. Sorry about that. Yeah, I'm a student with the City College of San Francisco Department of Aeronautics, and yeah, I'm one of probably 80 to 90 students, sort of waiting to hear back from the administration to bring our program back, and you know, we've sort of been left in limbo here. I did graduate with a bachelor's degree back in 2016, and I signed up with CCSF specifically for the aviation department. But yeah, no, I'm just pretty much waiting to hear what's going on. It seems like there's not much interest from the administration or anyone to bring us back on site on campus. So yeah, that's pretty much why I'm here. Yeah, you know, that's pretty much all I have to say. Is just it's a little frustrating that we've been waiting for so long. It's been over a year, and it seems like there has been not a lot of action being taken from the administration or the higher ups that seemingly don't really care much for, you know, almost 90 students and all of you for that matter, of course, everybody who spoke up. It's just a little frustrating, and you know, I'm hoping to go back to school, and but you know, it's not looking very promising.
Thank you so much, Sebastian, for sharing on the behalf of Aircraft Maintenance Technology Program. And this really affects everyone and all the trades that are being cut, and people's futures are in line. And let's see. Yeah, Vic, please speak more about the program. I'd love to hear.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, and thank you, Sebastian, for the courage to come here and share that. I think what's really important to understand is that the thing is, if the college has their way, is, they're projecting a specific solution, right? They always seem to have a very specific solution to a problem, and specifically for AMT, they're looking to move it to Evans to displace other programs that are already there. And we know those solutions are false. These are false answers to our problem, and they're unwilling, and they don't have the vision or the energy or the desire to fight for our college, to fight for more funding, to fight for a location for the AMT program. And when they do say that they're doing it, they're lying. They lie at the board meetings, they lie in the committees, at the college, in the district. They lie, and when they're held to the board of supervisors, they can't attend. They send an administrator that doesn't have the information. So I think what's really important to understand is that the experience Sebastian just shared is a personal story, a caveat to what has happened when it came to the AMT program, when it was displaced because it didn't have a home anymore at the airport. And that it is a repetition of what happened to the Fort Mason students, to the art program. And that is going to be a likely forecast of our future if we continue to go down this path. All of us will be in limbo. So this is absolutely our moment to push back and fight. Thank you, everyone.
I wanted to piggyback off of what Vic said. They kind of gave us a lot of information, whether it was faculty or administrators, for a very long time. I would say I was delayed over a year. I should actually be finished with the program at this point. But I was waiting, expecting, and hearing all this false information that there was seemingly some sort of guarantee of us going back to Evans Center. That was what we were told before the lease expired for our program, and that's what we were being told while we were waiting to come back. So that kind of resulted in me foolishly just listening to everyone and just holding off on, starting a new program somewhere out of state, because frankly, financially, it's been a bit of a struggle. So I'm, now I'm sort of looking diligently to find another program in the meantime, while their administration is still sort of taking their time figuring out what they're going to do and not giving us accurate or clear information of what's happening.
Thank you so much, Vic and Sebastian, for sharing on behalf of these programs. I think it's super detrimental to everybody that's trying to, figure out a life for themselves, and we shouldn't be compromised for our second options because these classes aren't available to us. And yeah, let's introduce Angelica Campos for information on statewide resolutions.
Right. Thank you, everyone else who also spoke today. A lot of the stories I heard today are, things that I, am familiar with, like the state being a student in DSPS. For me, it was really hard to even tap back into the program during the pandemic. And you would think that myself being part of, student government and being really, really super engaged in the college, that I wouldn't have trouble myself. But my name is Angelica. I am a sociology and Latinx studies major. My journey at City College actually began with Latinx studies. I took, Laws 1, Laws 11. A lot of the courses I took over the last few years are in ethnic studies, are in, the social justice areas. So it's really disappointing to hear that all of these cuts are happening. One thing I wanted to bring up today is that I am actually part of something called the Student Senate for California Community Colleges. You may have heard earlier from EK about, certain resolutions that were passed last weekend. We have many resolutions that were passed by City College students in order to, expand and protect, the rights that students have. So yeah, the Student Senate for California Community Colleges is the statewide organization that represents all 116 community colleges in the state of California. A lot of what we do is in regards to legislative priorities to protect students, to protect the access to classes, and you name it. Again, as I mentioned, many of the students that, came forward and brought resolutions to this body a couple of weeks ago are ESL students. They're, students that are in ethnic studies programs, that are in all of the programs that are potentially being cut. Without City College of San Francisco and the education that my peers, received, I don't think we would have been in that space where we were able to be empowered, speak in front of hundreds of others of our peers. Our, one area that, we passed a resolution in was non-credit student enfranchisement. Many of my co-authors who wrote that resolution are ESL students, are non-credit students. They represent the students of the Mission campus. So there are other things like trustee term limits that we introduced at the to the General Assembly that'll become part of like the statewide student representatives' priorities for the following year. I also want to highlight too on that point about non-credit students. Next year, we're going to be working with the state chancellor's office to, push for non-credit student protection within all of the California community colleges, because, historically, non-credit students, ESL students in any department such as GED or, workplace programs have been, foregone. they're not looked over, or they're overlooked, sorry. So with that, one thing I want to touch on is that without, again, City College, none of us would be in the place where we could even think of these ideas. Not think of these ideas, think of, pursuing this kind of advocacy. So there are also 6 other resolutions that we passed. One was free community college. I know, again, EK mentioned this earlier, and I want to, give a shout out to many of the students from the collective and other organizing groups that have put hard work and effort into getting this passed, despite, the barriers we faced at that General Assembly from people who didn't understand the importance of free community college for all. And I recognize, we're facing this same struggle here, again, at City College, this whole, never-ending cycle of, the what is it? The lessening, sorry. I'm a bit anxious, but, what I'm trying to get at is, we're seeing that kind of attitudes at the state, and we're also kind of seeing that attitude in our own community, within our own board of trustees, within our own administration. I think the next steps for all of the resolutions we passed are that, we're going to continue tapping into CCSF voices, tapping into the students that are the most threatened by, class cuts or, institutional racism, to ensure that they have a seat at the table, that they can see all of these initiatives through, and then hopefully, bring that momentum back to CCSF. We're already, myself, and as student trustee Chung, I want to give some props to them. We're already looking at how we can connect with other constituency groups on campus to, make sure those resolutions can be rolled out somehow at CCSF, and especially putting extra emphasis on the free college, the defending of ethnic studies. That was another resolution that was passed, as well as ensuring that non-credit students are, included at every seat at the table at the college. Because for the longest time, for years and years and years, non-credit students have not had the ability to have self-representation. Right here. And with that, again, I just want to, put extra emphasis on anyone who may see this, that non-credit students, ESL students, all of you matter, and don't let the college tell you that you don't.
Thank you so much, Angelica, for, the resolution info and all the work that you do in the community. I really appreciate it. And I also want to thank all the speakers, professors, and every member of community that was involved with today and spoke on the behalf of their departments and organizations. And let's just keep the momentum going. The fight does not stop. And, we're going to keep on fighting for what's right, and we're going to keep fighting for our education to empower the people and just keep building this community of strong folks and raise our voices for all these matters. Yes, and there will be a rally today. I will be sharing my screen right now. Yeah, so for more information, you can just go to Linktree/CCSF Student Coalition. Just to take some more action, let's just keep the momentum going. And I will be passing the mic to Gracie to talk about the March to Save CCSF.
Hi, thank you so much to everyone who spoke today. I want to share that I'm a student who, like many others, is a GED holder because I had to leave high school at 16 due to housing insecurity in San Francisco. San Francisco needs CCSF and the programs that you all are providing, and I'm really grateful to be working with all of you. So at 1 p.m., students have organized a march. We will meet at 24th Street BART Plaza. We are honored to have an opening ceremony to our action led by Aztec dancers from the mission. We will then begin to march with the Brass Liberation Orchestra, providing music as we march. We will make stops at a few relevant locations on our march where students will make statements about the cuts. Our march will end at the steps of Mission High School at approximately 2:15, at which point our rally will begin. We will begin with a land acknowledgement. We will then hear from Natalie Roque, student organizer with Anakbayan SF and We Are Philippine Studies. Tarek Farrar, former African American Studies Department chair. Again, we will hear from the amazing Xianna Rodriguez, DSPS student and organizer with CCSF Collective. Thank you, Xianna, for doing the work to inform us of the 40% cuts to DSPS. We will hear poetry from students Natalie Roque and Brianna Smith. Kathy Burrick, former CCSF dance instructor, will lead a dance activity. CCSF student organizer Sean Purcell will speak about CCSF for Sean, a group that is bringing awareness to the CCSF students murdered by police officers, including Sean Monterosa, who was a student organizer. We will hear from SF Bayview newspaper interim editor Nube Brown about Black journalism and the school to prison pipeline. AFT member Alan D'Souza will speak about the cuts to aircraft maintenance department that we heard a bit about from Vic and Sebastian. Stephanie McCallum will speak about the Rebuild CCSF campaign and the HERF funds that CCSF has that the administrators refuse to use, cutting classes and staff instead. We will hear from Adele-Failes Carpenter about Project Survive and the accessible programs for trauma survivors and others to learn about interpersonal violence that our community needs that are being cut that Ira spoke about earlier. We will close with a meditation led by CCSF Student Coalition member Lara Cohen. Thank you everyone for being here today.
Yes, thank you so much, Gracie, for sharing more information about the march. Yes, if anyone is comfortable with going, I know we're in a pandemic, but if you can, please join this march and come in solidarity to fight for what's right and save CCSF. Please bring some noisemakers. Let's bring some pots and pans and like some wooden spoons. Drink water and stay hydrated. Eat something before you go. And don't forget to keep your distance, wear a mask at all times. Bring some hand sanitizer, even some wipes, and just stay home if you have any symptoms. We're here in solidarity through virtual space as well, physical. And yeah, let's keep fighting for our future. I thank everyone for coming here and joining the fight for CCSF. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it.
Good job, Kiana.
Thank you.
Thank you, Xianna. We appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. I hope to see you guys later.
Okay, I'm going to try and make it if I can, at least part of it. I live near 24th and Mission, so I'll try and make at least part of it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Thank you so much for everything.